It has been a very long time since I spoke in this kind of setting, so thank you for coming and giving me some of your time. So I do know some of you, but I've been a nurse practitioner in this area for 10 years between Ashland and Medford. And then I was a nurse for 20 years before that. And, you know, with time you see things differently, right? It's a very different perspective. And I kind of went into medicine thinking this is the way everything is, and I've learned a lot since. So I've learned a lot about how, you know, our mind affects our body and our souls even. So I was really excited to touch on this topic about breath work. Last summer, I went to Costa Rica. I just really needed just to let some things go, right? And I thought that would be the right place to do it, like at a yoga meditation retreat. And I was introduced to breath work. And whoa, that was such a surprise for me. And at the same time, it felt so silly, like I've been breathing my whole life. How could I not know this yet, you know? Whole different ball game with what I learned. And so I'm excited to share that with you because our breath is so powerful. And it's something we take for granted, but when we start to check in and become more aware of it, you'll find out it's actually your superpower. And it's a two-way street, essentially, between your breath and your nervous system, okay? So, you know, whenever you think of a time when you were like so stressed, right? And you caught yourself breathing faster and maybe getting amped up, right? But the beauty of it is we can also reverse it, okay? So when you're feeling that way, you can intentionally say, oh, I think I'm going to slow down my breathing and bring down everything, my nervous system as well. So, you know, sometimes we just kind of react to our breath, but we forget that, no, we can actually take the moment to be present with it and to change the dynamic going on. So I want to talk about four main things, actually, that involve breath work and our brains, okay? So breath work and neuroplasticity is where I'm going to start. And I'm not sure how we're changing the slides. I didn't really learn that part. Is it this? Okay.
I'm not sure if that will work. There's a pointer on it.
Okay.
Forward, left,
Oh,
back.
Okay, let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. I just assumed I would like give you the look, you know? So our brains, they've learned a lot about our brains recently, about the ability to rewire it with the thought patterns that we have. And, you know, it's like anything else. You know, if you are using a certain pathway frequently, it's going to become more smooth, right? And it's going to become a super freeway if you use it well enough. So our brains are like that. And what we think over and over again starts to become that super freeway. And it kind of almost becomes like a short circuit. So like for people who've been through traumatic experiences, that really just blows it wide open so that when they see a trigger, they go straight to, you know, this equals this, okay? And then they kind of lose that moment of, but wait a minute, what if that doesn't apply in this situation? So that's where breathwork comes in because it creates a pause, a moment where you can actually kind of check in with your subconscious to see if it really is, if you are mismatching an experience with that pathway. No wonder I can't see it. Here's my glasses. All right, so we have the ability to create and to strengthen the neural pathways that we want to. And a lot of that, too, happens with the way that we do our own inner self-talk. And that's why you hear people say, you know, keeping positive thoughts is really important because, quite frankly, you're creating neural pathways. And if you're in that pattern or in that habit of, you know, thinking maybe victim thoughts or, you know, poor me thoughts or, you know, any negative, you know, perspective, it just kind of is going to be that much easier to do that again. And you've met people like that, right? Where you kind of know the flavor that they are essentially. Their mood, it tends to kind of be this way, this pattern. We can see patterns in each other so much easier than we can see it in ourselves, right? So you might have heard people say that we create our lives with our thoughts. Absolutely. Because our responses create what's next, right? Another thing too is, you hear what fires together, wires together, all right? So I don't know, how many of you have heard of the Pavlovian dog experiment? So popular, right? I think probably most everyone. There might be a few that didn't, so I'm just gonna briefly touch on it. So Pavlov decided to do this psychological experiment, right? A bell didn't mean anything to a dog until you consistently tied a bell to some food. Now, every time that dog hears the bell, it starts to salivate, expecting the food, right? So that's kind of how we are with our own brains. We do kind of start to make associations, and trying to slow things down with our breath is how we're going to be able to create the new neural pathways, okay? So specifically, when we are able to slow our breaths and use our vagal stimulation to get out of the fight or flight mode, to create a safe space, okay, where we're grounded, we're present, and we're curious, okay, then we can be more present. And really, that's mindfulness, right? So, for example, if you were having a difficult discussion with somebody, maybe a friend, and you're stressed about it, okay? But let's say you're all amped up and you're kind of in fight or flight mode and you're breathing fast, okay? What do you think is going to happen in that difficult conversation? You're probably going to be more reactive. The way they look at you is you're gonna like take it as, oh, I saw that look, or you're gonna start to assume that they're thinking things that they may not be thinking, okay? You're kind of projecting onto them the way that you're feeling. And that's what happens when we're not slowing down enough with our breath. But when we use our superpower, then we can go into it with curiosity and openness. And maybe when our person says something, we can just pause, think about it, and ask a more mindful question rather than being so reactive. And, I had a recent experience myself where I had a very difficult conversation with somebody at work. It was a year overdue. I don't like confrontation, okay? But, it just hit that point where I could not take it one more day. And that's when it happens, right? So I knew he was coming. I knew I was going to have this conversation. And so I just started doing my slow breathing. Just nice grounded breathing. And I'm going to teach some techniques at the end of this as well to ground you. And when he was there and I started to feel myself amp up a little bit, I just went back to my breath. I stayed present. I held my ground. And I stayed, quite frankly, I was very kind about it, probably kinder than he deserved. Okay? And it was productive. And, I can't say that it's a dramatic change because he's still who he is, right? But I'm changing the way that I'm responding. Another example I thought of too, what happens when you get pulled over by a cop? Doesn't your heart start racing? You start breathing fast, and you're not even guilty. I don't even know how these people who are guilty can live through a confrontation with an officer. Obviously, it's not me. So that's just another example where you could just kind of, okay, this is the moment I'm being triggered. And I'm going to slow down my breaths. I take a nice, even breath in for maybe 4 counts, and then 4 out. Because he's going to have to walk from his car to you, right? So you've got a few seconds. Maybe you won't look so guilty. Let's see. So let me move on. So basically, if I can say right here, we have patterning in our neuropathways, okay? So when we're not aware, okay, and we're like in flight or fight mode, right? Then we're gonna have like a stressful trigger, okay? And then that's gonna put us to panic. And then we're gonna be reactive, okay? Whereas if we can just pause with our breath, okay? So you get that trigger and you're like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna take a few seconds to breathe. And then you can be present, all right? And you can represent yourself better, all right? And that's also gonna help you. Staying out of the fight or flight mode is gonna switch where you're at in your brain. Because when you go to fight or flight mode, you're going to your primitive lizard brain, right? More to the limbic system, and you're just looking how you can survive. Whereas if you can basically just keep it out of the limbic system in that stressful situation when you need to work through and cognitively figure something out, it's going to switch to the prefrontal cortex, okay? So we also have neurochemistry that's affected by our breathing that does affect these neuropathways. So specifically, we have neurotransmitters that connect those very tips of our neurons and to firing. So when we are able to take slower, deep breaths, okay, and this is pretty slow, 4 to 6 per minute. That's really slow. That releases GABA, which helps us to be calm. If we can take a regular deep nasal breath in, but then have a longer exhale, then that's going to give us more nitric oxide if we're using our nose specifically. Nose breathing is the way to go, okay? And that would increase your serotonin, which is your mood. That's what people prescribe SSRIs for, right? So by intentionally slowing down your exhale, slowing down your rate, you can access more serotonin as well, and potentially do it in a natural way, which, you know, we know, Ashland, we like natural ways, right? And then the other neurotransmitter that's affected is our dopamine. And dopamine actually is released when you do breath of fire. Who knows what breath of fire is? Yeah. So it's that really rapid, but it's intentional. It's not like a I'm scared breathing. It's like a I can't do it very long because I'm a little bit stressed myself. But it's really focusing on the exhale. And when you do that for like 20 or 30 seconds, you're going to release some more of that neurotransmitter, the dopamine, that's going to help you to feel so great. They're also finding that there is a brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a protein and supports nerve health, okay, neurons, that is released with breathwork as well. So let me move on to our next one. And we're going to talk about breathwork and the subconscious. So when you think about, you know, how do you access your subconscious? Your mind is so loud, right? Mine is, okay? So trying to get to the side of that to be the observer, okay, instead of the one that's reacting. You want to try, like I said, to get into the limbic system, okay? So basically, in this case, you do want the limbic system because that's where your subconscious is stored. That's where your memories, your emotions, everything there, your bodily sensations that are associated with memories are in the limbic system. And by doing breathwork patterns, you're able to access that and push the frontal cortex aside, okay? And that's the beauty of it. You get to see things from a very objective space. Memories will come up that you haven't thought of in 30, 40 years. But it's if you go into it with an intention of, what do I need to see? You may get that exact thing, which would be ideal, right? But you may just get what you need instead, which is okay too, right? So let me give you another example. A lot of times we talked about being triggered, right? So I have a friend who was bit by a dog. I won't say his name because he's here. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking for him at first to be around my dog because it was the same breed, okay? So logically, I could tell him, she is amazing. You don't have to worry. She's not going to hurt you in any way. But I could see that when he came over, he was like, kind of like backing up a little bit at first. Now, not so much anymore. He had to rewire his brain to learn that this breed can be safe. She had to change his experience, okay? But he also had to breathe through that experience to get there. So, another example too of where somebody might be triggered and not even know why, right? Because our subconscious will see an experience, it'll interpret it, and then it'll create a sensation, okay, based on this other experience, which may or may not be accurate. So for example, like if you were a child that was ignored maybe by your parents and you just felt kind of overlooked a lot. And then let's say you're texting somebody and it might be something super trivial. It may not even be a deep conversation, but then that person just doesn't answer. That could really trigger something strong for somebody who maybe felt that they were ignored as a child. And you'd be like, wow, why is this bothering me so much? Why am I so upset over this? Okay? That's your subconscious reacting, and you may not know what it's tied to. Okay? But that's it trying to apply something maybe a little inaccurate. So through breath work, we're able to try and kind of observe and open things up. And that is going to be changing the brain waves. So, normally during the day, you're functioning in a beta wave. And that's going to be, a lot faster, just kind of, like this, right? But then there's different ways with breath work where we can, by using your vagus nerve stimulation, we can actually slow things down so that you could get into the alpha state, okay, which is more, it's going to be like creative, it's going to be in the flow, okay? And one of my favorite ways to do this is box breathing. And I do this on the way to work. I work in the ER in Medford. And I've noticed if I do my box breathing on the way to work, I get in there, someone's like, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm like, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And I don't get the emotional, like, because you're getting jumped by all these people who are asking you questions right away. But instead, I'm just able to answer and go to the next and not get the emotional reaction. So anyway, if you're a visual person, that's why I'm doing this. But this would be, right, let's see, the alpha, yeah. So here's the alpha. It's just a little bit slower, right? And then theta is going to be really slow. And that's more like a dream state. And with the breathwork classes, well, you're going to have to imagine there's an A here. With the breathwork classes, some people will go into a dream state and they will have visuals and they will just have like incredible experiences that connect for them. And usually they're very emotional because we are tapping into the limbic system where the subconscious is. So, sorry, just because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, I have to put this here. Okay. All right. So the subconscious shows up with sensations, with emotions, and with imagery. Doesn't usually show up with words. Okay? That tends to be a little bit more of that prefrontal cortex. So the vagus nerve, okay, is connected to our breath directly to the limbic system. That's how we can access it, okay? So how do you access the vagus nerve? It's going to be deep belly breathing. So like if you put your hand on your chest and another hand on your belly, most of us all day long breathe through our chest because that's what we've been taught in our society to do, suck in your belly, right? But if you notice little kids, they breathe in their bellies with no shame. and that's cute, right? So whenever you need to slow things down, hold your chest still and just breathe slowly through your belly. That is going to bring you back down. And if you can, just visualize your feet on the ground, feel your body, feel where you're at, and observe any sensations that you're feeling. And when you feel something, you know, it's usually the one that wants to say something is uncomfortable, right? Just go to that spot and breathe into it and ask it, what does this mean? You might ask it, where have I felt this before? And when you are going slow enough with your breathing, your subconscious will show you. Okay? It'll remind you of a memory. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's when I felt it. It's a great tool. All right. And the other thing to remember is, you know, when you're stressed and wired, how well do you think, right? You can't learn things when you're stressed. You just want to run. So just know that you have that power in you at any moment, and it doesn't take long. Another funny thing we do a lot of times without even realizing it, what are some of the things that you do when you're stressed that slows down your breathing? I was always a huge sigher, and I still do it when I'm at work. I'm like, right? Or yawning. Okay, that's another one. Growling. I have to tell you, okay, I'll go there. So last summer, I was super stressed about something, really upset about it. And I'm not usually an angry person, so it says a lot. And I did some Bataka work. If you're familiar with Bataka work, that's where you just beat the out of something with a foam bat, okay, like a couch or something. So I did that till I couldn't do it anymore. Wasn't doing it, wasn't cutting it. I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go for a run. So I went for a run at Lithia Park. I ran 5 miles, okay? I was in good shape at that time. And it wasn't quite cutting it. And then instinctually, this is before I learned about breath work, but instinctually, I was so angry, I started growling. And I'm just growling through Lithia Park, growling, growling, growling. I'm like, I don't care. I can do what I want in Ashland, you know? And I ran into this sign. I don't know if any of you saw it. There was a sign that said, beware, there was a black bear seen here last week or something. Do you remember seeing that in Lithia Park? And it was around dusk, and I ran into that sign. I was like, I don't care. Bring it on. I'll fight a bear. You know, like I was just so angry. But by the time I was done growling, I felt better. And growling is a long exhale. It's a release of tension. I promote growling heavily, okay? Another really cool thing for a long exhale that you might already do, and it makes you feel better, Singing. Yeah. When I play my guitar at home, because, I'm, want to feel better or just want to get into it, doesn't cut it like when I sing. When I sing, it's like a whole nother level of endorphins. Okay? So, there's all kinds of great ways to just slow down your breathing. Okay? So the next one, let me go back to the subconscious for one more moment. A lot of our subconscious experiences were formed when we were children. And so it was formed by the mind of a child, okay? And some of us kind of need to update our subconscious that actually things are different now. Like, I'm actually in a safe space. I actually have control over my environment. There's that kind of reprogramming that needs to occur to kind of help bring a new level of safety. And that's, for me, that was the whole benefit of breathwork. I did have a very unsafe childhood. And safety was like a feeling I couldn't even imagine what that felt like. And when I was 16 and they mandated seatbelts be used in Oregon, I remember putting on a seatbelt and thinking, this is the only safe thing in my life, is a seatbelt. And that was a moment, right? So having breath work where you can actually get your story changed with reprogramming through meditation while you're in these states of theta and alpha gives you a sense of like, oh my gosh, that's what safety feels like. And then you can go back to it. So for me, it was updating my subconscious in a lot of ways. And that's why I'm just so passionate about it. Let's go to the next one. I don't know if you've heard, there we go, right button, of this book. Has anybody read it or heard of it? Yeah. So, we kind of tend to think that in Western medicine, that our brain stores everything. And we don't give enough credit to all the different organs and different places that really do. And a lot of other cultures are super aware of that. Like Chinese medicine is really great at that. They have like an organ has this emotion, liver is anger. Heart, right, is obviously passion and love. I'm trying to remember because I'm not as well versed in that, but people who have like IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome, okay? That's your gut telling you that you're stressed and you're still putting yourself in that situation, in that trigger situation, and need some help maybe reprogramming it or finding other ways of functioning. Also, Ayurvedic medicine also is very more aware of the mind-body connection. So maybe you've known people specifically, like they'll go through something super crazy hard and then they get cancer right after, right? Things like that happen. And another one I was thinking of, trauma survivors. They don't just remember these experiences, they feel it in their body as if it's happening in that very moment. It's very intense. So those memories are stored as well in their body. And another, I'm sorry, I'm kind of geeking out on different illnesses, but another one that it just really hit home for me today. I hadn't quite thought of it this way until I was kind of reviewing everything. But people who've had traumatic experiences, right? What happens when you're being traumatized? Your heart rate goes up, right? So there is a connection between PTSD and POTS, if you've heard of that. It stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Okay? It's where their autonomic system has just been in overdrive. Okay? So anyway, Dr. van der Kolk, he realized that talk therapy isn't enough to rewire the body. It's like the body needs to feel it differently. And you feel things differently through the limbic system, okay? Which, once again, is what we affect with our breath. Okay? So that's where we can restore safety and we can integrate different perceptions. So, another thought that I was reminded of, when your body isn't, when you're in that fight or flight mode, you don't make good choices. Think about all the squirrels that run out in front of the cars. Like, boy, they have lizard brains, don't they? I mean, why do they wait until you get close? I used to think, why do they wait till you get close and then run in front of the road? It's because they're panicking, okay? Yeah, heaven help the squirrels. Let's see. So, a very important part also in breath work, like I mentioned, is being aware of your inner sensations, tapping into those, listening to your body, so that you can then, I'll tell you in a breathwork class to intentionally breathe into that area, observe it, acknowledge it, and in some cases even thank it. It's showing you something. Ask it what it's trying to show you. All right? Okay. And, I had mentioned earlier that the subconscious often works in nonverbal ways. So my very first breathwork class that I had in Costa Rica, I was shocked when they said, go back to an earlier version of yourself that needed more love. And I was shocked at the one that my subconscious chose. I was an infant in a crib. And I was like, I could feel my face turning like an infant. I could feel like I just wanted to cry like an infant. I could feel that full experience. And I could even visualize somebody standing there and not picking me up. So, you cannot overlook what the body experiences. And we all really just practicing self-compassion. Breath work is a form of self-compassion. All right? The other thing that I like about breath work is it also, that pause that it creates. They'll say a lot of times, like, watching a scary movie or experiencing something scary, your brain can't tell the difference. That it experiences it the same way. Your heart still goes fast, right? And all that stuff. But when you do the breath work and you're able to go into these wave patterns, it allows you to witness something that, was stressful, right? Like being that infant in the crib that wasn't being picked up, observing it, and then basically rewiring it, okay? Around like, oh, and I'm safe right now. And I have control of my situation. And you can just attach, it's like you're attaching these addendums to it. All right, the next one. If you thought I was geeking out, wait till you hear this. Okay, I love internal family systems. I feel like it's just such a great methodology for explaining the different parts of ourselves. And I'm not saying that we're like multiple personalities. It's not that. We are a creation of all these different parts, and there are no bad parts. There's a part of us that is a manager who's trying to protect and control. That one comes out by being an inner critic, by perfectionism, having to write the A on the beta, right? It's also the one who is a workaholic, okay? It's like they're trying so hard to keep you safe by controlling the situation, okay? And we all have some level of those parts in us. And then we also have the firefighters, the ones who are trying to rescue us. They're the ones that go, oh my God, you just worked how many 12-hour shifts and you're so exhausted? I think you need some chocolate. I think you need to go sit over there and watch some TV and chill out, girl. Okay, those are the firefighters. They can also lead to risky behaviors. It can be like, alcohol or substance use as well. But the firefighters mean well. They're trying to soothe you. They're trying to comfort you, okay? They are serving a purpose because, quite frankly, that manager is driving you crazy. And you're going to be like just burned into the ground if you keep working that hard, right? So I like to, in my breathwork classes, to incorporate those pieces of ourselves, to see them. And it's interesting, but seeing them and acknowledging them, thanking them for what they're trying to do, when they feel safe, guess what they do? They calm down. Those other parts are triggered by stressors. And that's when they come raging in and try and rescue and do all these big things, and you can't sleep and everything else. So the best thing we can possibly do is send them love, gratitude, and safety. Okay? Then we've also have another group within ourselves, and they're the exiles. And these are the parts, I like to think of them as these brave little children, because they were formed most likely when you were children. And you'll have one that carries the shame. You'll have one over here that carries the sadness, the loneliness, the anger. These are the emotions that maybe you weren't safe enough to express as a child or whenever that time was. And so that part of you basically was pushed back into the corners by the managers and the firefighters who are trying to protect you so you can function, okay? And so in breath work, when we are able to get into those same brain waves, we're able to rewire our relationship with those parts, okay? And by seeing those parts and letting the managers and the firefighters know that it's okay, there's a safe place for that emotion. That emotion's okay in your life, as an adult, in doses, right? So when we're able to calm all of those pieces down, that's when we become what's called the true self, okay, in the internal family systems. And our true self is amazing, right? And that's right here, okay? That's where we're curious, we're calm, we're confident, compassionate, creative, clear, courageous, connected. That's our true state, okay? That's the observer. That's our subconscious when it's whole and healthy, right here. I'm really good at this one. The others come and go, okay? But I have noticed that there's a new sense of calm and peace that I've had as I've been able to do regular breath work. Because I would say, quite frankly, I was a little skittish. I had a weird habit, if I can say that, of kind of like this nervous giggle. When I was uncomfortable, I would do this nervous giggle, and I didn't know how to stop it. I'd be like, okay, I know this is stupid. I know I'm way too old to be doing this. Why can't I stop this? And it was because I didn't feel safe. And that was my, I would say, like, version of myself that used to giggle to test the waters, to see how safe it was out there. And if I got laughter back, I knew it was safe. But if I didn't, then I knew maybe it's not. So it was created for a reason. And now that I've been able to create more of a safe space for myself, for the most part, that seems to be gone. So, like, I've met a friend a few months ago. I don't think he's seen that side of me. I think I cured it before he met me, so that was nice. All right. So I make sure I'm getting all my parts here. Okay. So really, in conclusion, I'm going to actually take you to another place. I just wanted to share this kind of goofy story of mine. So do you remember where you were when that movie came out? Yeah? So I was a sophomore in high school. And, well, I need some water. One second. Hold on. Anyway, I was going through a whole lot. It was just super intense. And basically, I was having panic attacks. And this is in the 80s where people didn't talk about anxiety or panic attacks. The older people, you know, it wasn't such a thing. It wasn't really in the lingo back then. So I didn't even have a way to express it, like, you know, what's going on. But I would find myself in a bathroom stall having a panic attack. And I remembered the scene on there where Mr. Miyagi is teaching the Karate Kid how to breathe. Do you remember that? And he's like, well, he said that. And then he's like, right? And I started doing that in my bathroom stall. And it worked. And it became my secret, like, thing I did. Whenever I was going to have a panic attack and I just needed to just like reset my nerves, I would go into a bathroom stall and I would start doing my breath work. And I didn't know it was breath work. It was just instinctual. Because I remember seeing, when I saw that movie, I was like, oh, that kind of looks cool. Like maybe I should try that. So anyway, I'm so grateful. That got me through high school, right? So just know that is an option for breath work anytime. And for me, I don't know, I think it's a somatic thing where some kind of memories are stored in my arms, I'm sure. Maybe it's a past life thing, but for me, lifting my arms up also gives me some kind of relief, some kind of release that I don't get just by holding still. So let me just show you a few more kind of power tools, if I could. So, you know, breathwork classes are amazing for kind of reprogramming your subconscious, for creating different neural pathways that you want to fire more around safety and love and peace and self-acceptance and confidence. But in reality, during the day, you're going to get triggered sometimes. And so I talked to you about the box breathing that I do on the way to work. And so if you want to do that just for a second, I'll show you how that works, okay? But essentially, it's just visualize a box, okay? So you're going to do like 4 seconds in, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. And then you just repeat, okay? But when you do it, in breathwork we say your nose is for breathing, your mouth is for eating. When you breathe through your nose, it increases your nitrous oxide, which also helps you to get more serotonin. Okay? So, and then you do the belly breathing. Okay? So let's just kind of for a second, just breathe in through your belly for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. Exhale. 3, 2, 1. And you can, you know, at first that can feel kind of, what's the word? A little like air hunger, right? You're not used to holding your breath maybe that much. So if you need to, you could hold, you could decrease the holds a little bit if you need to do that. You will get better with it with time, okay? The more you do it, the goal would be if you can do this for 10 minutes a day, you're gonna find kind of another level of serenity, okay? And you can also increase the speed of your counting as well. And you can also increase the depth of your belly breathing. So kind of play with that. And whenever you feel like, okay, I'm going to go into a stressful moment, or if you're going to be meditating, I do it sometimes when I'm doing dishes or laundry. Like, you can do it any time. And the more you do it, the more you're tapping in to your vagus nerve, to your parasympathetic system, to the calming centers, okay? The other one I really like is this physiologic sigh. And so you take a deep breath in, and then you take another deep breath in on top of that, and then you do a long exhale. And if you want to, you could growl, you know me. Or another thing you can do is hum. Humming through your nose is also really good for stimulating that and kind of bringing you down into a level of calmness, okay? So, just let's do it together, just a nice deep breath in, stack it, and then the nice deep breath in, stack it, and exhale. Feel your body and see how it's kind of shifting, and it's just kind of relaxing with that. Okay, and then do one more. Nice deep breath in, and then stack it, and then all right, I think, there we are. That's it. Very good. Thank you guys for coming.